Good morning everybody, welcome to Clayton Art Club. So this is the first time on YouTube, but I've been doing this for a couple of years on Facebook, on our Clayton Art Club Facebook page. And so basically I run a weekly live stream along with face-to-face sessions where we actually come into the art room. So this is the art room, it's pretty cool. I'm just going to check the comments. So I'm using a streaming system here, so hopefully I'll be able to see your comments this week, and if not, I don't know. And so basically we've got a split camera, so you can see what I'm drawing, or if we're doing sculpting or something else, we'll be able to see that, which is pretty cool. We've got a split screen here, so we've got a camera here and a camera there, and I've also got this view as well, so I can be tiny little me. So that's pretty cool. Hopefully the sound is okay, so if you could message me in the comments either on YouTube or on Facebook and just tell me if the volumes sound okay from your perspective. If they don't, then I can tweak them with a little thingy here. So often what I do when I'm drawing is I let you guys decide what you want. We draw all sorts. Last week we drew this guy, and I got it wrong, his name, and we drew IG88, which was pretty cool as well. So we'll be doing some more drawing today, basically. Get my paper ready and we're ready to draw. So I've also I've got my iPad here, so if you request anything obscure that I haven't heard of before, then I can obviously look it up and find out what you're talking about, or I can use it as reference, which is good. So I'm just going to check on my little stream here to see if anyone is viewing, because it doesn't show there, so just bear with me a moment. Okay, not to worry. Okay, so I think we're ready. So I'm going to start by just drawing a bird today, just to get things started, but it's just going to be a quick one while I wait for people to join the stream. So yeah, feel free to chuck a comment in the comments and say hello, and let's get going. So I'm going to start with the head of the bird, and I'm going to start with the body as well. What I like to do is start with sausages, and I'm using a 2B pencil, which I probably shouldn't be. Doesn't matter really, but depends what you're feeling. There's a HB, don't know if you can see that. It's not in focus anyway. That's a HB. I've got a little box of pencils. This is an architect pencil, which is quite nice. Apologies as well if I keep looking over there, because this is where my switching device is. So I keep looking over there. Then I do apologise. It's a nice HB, and I've also got a nice 7B, and I've got some of my ink pens which I really like using, so that's what I've got in the background if you're wondering. And I'm just going to draw a nice bird. Let's get back to this view. Ah, so Nick's messaged here. Here we have no sound at your end. Oh. Oh, hang on. Is that better? No? Let's try that. Is that better? We might get mixed sound if we do that. Let me know in the comments if that sounds any better. I had this problem last time. It was really irritating. Or let's try. Why is the sound not working? So this is a message that came through. We'll leave and come back and check if it's up. Okay, so this is the message that just came through. Why is the sound not working? Just bear with me a second, let me see. Doesn't show. Okay, the sound's coming through. Sound's coming through on mine. Just bear with me a second, let me see. Doesn't show. I think it might be you guys, but if it is not you guys, then I will have another tweak. But if you can double check, because I can see on my audio thing, there's like an audio thing that tells me that there's sound coming out, and I've just checked on my phone, so I don't know. Oh, lovely, my kids are screaming in the garden. I thought I could escape them in the art room, but no. Never mind, let's get back to drawing. Let me know if the sound comes back or if you can hear it. Oh, it sounds okay. Okay, who said that? Let me know if the sound comes back or if you can hear it. Oh, it sounds okay. Okay, who said that? There we go. Someone said the sounds come out. It's quite cool. I can press buttons on comments and it makes them appear. So everyone can see the messages even if you're on YouTube or something, which is quite cool, I think. It doesn't show who's said it, so that might be because of Facebook's privacy. But anyway, so if you can hear me now, that's good. If you would like me to draw anything in particular, let me know and I will try and draw it for you. Obviously I'm just drawing a bird here while I was waiting for people to join, but as you know, I'll draw anything you want really. Superheroes, Iron Mans, all kinds of things. So this is a really interesting, this is a photo I took of a bird at Laverton Hall in Bradford. Well, not in Bradford, on the way to Leeds. So that's what I'm trying to draw at the moment. But yeah, if you'd rather I drew something cool and trendy, let me know. Just gonna check. Yeah. What I do is when I'm drawing a shape, I kind of start with the kind of overall shape and just try and bulk it out basically, and because I'm drawing in pencil I'm not too worried about how it looks. I'm just critically aware now. Sorry, I keep looking at the camera. I keep looking at it now just to check to see if any comments have come through about the sound now. I've got a bit panicky. But it did sound okay for me, and it did sound okay for, I think it was Helen. But it did sound okay for me, and it did sound okay. Yeah, it did sound okay for Carol, so I'm assuming it's at your end, Nick. But anyway, okay. So we're just going to start up with bulking out the shape of our bird. And with pencil, what I tend to think, if I'm planning to do something with inks or with pens, what I tend to do is not worry too much about how the pencil looks, and I'm just trying to kind of establish like the form and the shape and the basic proportions of my drawing, so that when I then apply ink, I can decide what I want to keep and what I want to get rid of. And I've got a big juicy rubber, which is perfect. So I can administer vigilant rubbing if needed. So again, I've got the pencils. I feel like I'm repeating myself. I'm a bit out of practice, as you can probably guess, because I've had a few weeks off here and there. And but yeah, looking forward to getting back to full swing in September. I'll be running face-to-face ones again. And all that jazz. So I'm just looking at my drawing. In fact, I might put it here, out of shot. And I'm just looking at the shape of the wings, just trying to establish that the main lines really. Just gonna smoothen that out. Once I'm happy with the main gist of it, I jump onto my pen, and this is where it starts to kind of really pop. Now I am keeping an eye on the comments, so if you guys have a better suggestion of what you want me to draw, please let me know. So I'm using, this is called a brush tip, and it's a bit like a very juicy felt tip basically. And what's really powerful is you can, if you go sideways, you get a nice thick line, and if you pull it this way, you get a nice thin line. So it's quite good for bulking out areas. And as you can see, I'm just using the pencil lines more as a guide really. Now you don't have to use fancy pens like this. You could use a biro, you could use you know, a biro. They're really good as well. Is everything still coming through? Is anyone there? Just checking. What I'm going to do now is just get a finer pen. This is my fine pen. I'm just going to start exaggerating the feathers now. Kind of just building it up. I'm just going to start and just by pressing a little bit harder here and there, you can make some quite stark contrasts between the different plumages. Proper rocking the table. So this is just my warm-up drawing, just to get my juices flowing. So if you have any suggestions on what you'd like me to draw, again please ask. Also feel free to say if the sound has gone or anything weird like that, because this is new tech that I'm using, so I want it to be the best it can. And if I don't know that it's not working, then I can't fix it, can I? So that's my bird. In case you're wondering, this is what I'm drawing from. This is a photo I took. Can't remember what it's called. It's quite a cool little bird. It was in with the penguins, so it must be one of place near where we live called Laverton Hall. There's a load of birds, there's penguins and all sorts, so that was... doing now is just in these white areas, I'm just trying to break up the areas of just white so that it looks more organic, more textured, that kind of thing. Going to give it some something to stand on. Pretty sure the comments are coming through. Just check, see if there's any on here. No? Okay, cool. Right, so I'm done with this bird. Right, bear with me a second. I'm just going to find myself something to inspire me to draw. So if you have any ideas, quickly post them now, or I will choose. So I'm going to kind of draw a robot head. What I'm trying to do is kind of establish the main shape of the head first. Give it a bit smaller. You can even hear probably hear my chickens in the background. doing is I'm trying to this is the back of the head shape, and then this is the shape of the face. Hello again. Who's that? Who's just commented? Matthew. Hey Matthew. Hopefully the sound is working for you, Matthew. It's very cool that I can turn the comments on, because if you ask me a question or you have a recommendation, I can just press a little button and it appears on screen so everyone can see it. So I'm just drawing a robot because I want to. But if you want me to draw something that you want me to draw, as usual, feel free to ask. Problems with M's iPad this morning. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, it did confuse me earlier when you mentioned about the sound. Suggest. Okay, what have we got here? Suggests an ankylosaurus. Ankylosaurus. Oh, cool. Yeah, I like drawing them. Let's draw an ankylosaurus. It's more fun drawing what you guys want me to draw. Does the screen and everything look okay for you guys? I hope it does. From now on, this is Matthew. Okay. Right, let's remind myself what an ankylosaurus looks like. Okay, Y. I can spell it. Oh, cool. Yeah, I like these guys. So this is what an ankylosaurus looks like. So I'll just flick through to find something I like the look of. I really like the shape of the head. I think they're very cool. Let's see what I can find. Yeah, I quite like that one. Cool. So that'll be my guide for today. Right, let's get drawing. So I'm just on a HB and I'm just going to start with the skeleton. So if you think this is the head, start with sausages. Are you going to be drawing as well, Matthew? Hope you are. I don't know if you can hear the chickens in the background. Probably wanting some attention or some food. So I'm getting the head established and then gonna draw the body. kind of have spikes coming out here, and the spine would kind of go down into the tail, a bit like a, so this is my reference, so you can see you've got the head and then the spine would go round to the tail, and then you'd have the 4 legs. So we're trying to draw that here to build up a kind of framework. So the tail is muscular the closer to the body, and then it tapers out to kind of more bony section. And then you've got the big hind legs, because these guys are quite strong. So what it would do, if it was wanting to attack, if you look at its form and its structure, so these are the legs, shoulders would be here, a bit like a turtle, like an armoured turtle, but what it does is it has all its mass here and its head here, and then it's able to swing this in a very wide arc. So because it's really heavy here, it can swing a massively heavy tail really fast and really powerfully, while not throwing itself around, if that makes sense. So I'm just going over the different limbs, trying to find a way that sits well. And remember, this is the spine. It's made up of plates. And kind of as the plates come off, they go into spikes. And the spikes come off at this end. Got a really interesting kind of like beak mouth, which is interesting. So it's not an actual meat eater, it's just used to trying to defend itself from bigger animals like, I don't know, T-Rex, I imagine, or other big animals that wanted to probably push it onto its back and then eat it from the soft underbelly. This is looking a little bit a little bit high on the back, but I think it's just the head is quite small actually. So what you can do is, just because it's pencil, you can just draw it bigger. It doesn't really matter until you get onto the pen side, so I'm just going to focus on the head first. Just going over the lines that I want to keep, and I'm constantly looking at my reference. If you don't feel you're ready to jump onto the pen, just keep working on the pencil until you get in a kind of form and a shape that you actually really like, where you feel like the proportions look right. What I'm doing is on this side edge, I'm trying to add as much of the shape of the texture of the forehead, just so that it gives off that kind of 3D-ness to the rest of the form, I think, really. So I'm actually going to raise the eye up because it doesn't look quite. Now apparently, and I don't know if this is true, but the most like raptors and dinosaurs we have today in terms of animals is Tarbos. So Matthew's just told me, I'm assuming it's Matthew, yeah it's Matthew, has just said that a tarbosaur preyed on it, so not heard of them, I'll have to look up them in a minute. But the nearest creature, or the animal we have the most like that's still around today for dinosaurs, apparently is a chicken. I would have thought there'd have been a crocodile or something like that, but apparently chickens are a lot like dinosaurs, so. What do you think, Matthew? Is this looking good? Thanks, buddy. So once I'm kind of happy with the shape of the God, these noisy chickens. I don't know if you guys can hear it on the stream, but they're making a racket. I think they know when I'm live streaming and they're like, oh, let's make a noise. So I think when you're trying to draw spikes, I kind of draw the curve of whatever flesh they're going into. So this is kind of over the top. And you just draw a kind of triangle shape. To make it look bony, you can just add some kind of veins. If you think nails grow out, and so you have the kind of strands growing out. So when we draw like spikes and things, I think to me the gist of it is that they come Just building up the shape of the side of this armoured guy. Because I'm following the contour of the spine that I drew earlier, as you can see, I'm drawing the spikes on the back. I don't know if anyone is actually watching on YouTube, but I haven't had any comments come through, so I'm hoping the comments work on the YouTube link. If they don't, or if it's not worked, I do apologise. I just hope it is actually streaming to YouTube as well. I'll have to hope. So now I'm going to get onto the legs now. And they're quite dark because they're kind of underneath everything else. And to me, they look a little bit long, but so I'm going to start adding some texture to these in a minute. I'm just going to add some OTT shade, I think. So because his spine goes like that, his tail is twisted like that. I don't know if you can imagine that. So this is actually the top of his tail because he's twisted. Because so I'm actually going to draw the top of his tail here. So he has these kind of like ribs going back down them, because the top part of them is armoured. Should probably be doing this in pencil, but never mind. So these have little bumps on them as well, so that if it hits something like a dinosaur that's trying to eat it, then these will cause it more grief, a bit like nettles or something, I imagine, or not nettles, sorry, thorns and stuff. They've got kind of lumps and bumps, so that if you got hit by it, it would do extra damage, I think. So I wonder if, because it's quite heavy and it had a lot of bone and a lot of muscle, whether this guy had to eat something that had lots of calcium. Like you wonder with this mouth if it ate grit, or if it like would just eat forage in the ground for roots and things and stuff, like with that, with this beak, with this kind of I'm going to go back, just going to start adding texture, add some shade in a minute, start on my 7B, and what I'm going to think about is what direction is the sun going to come from, or what the light generally there's going to be a lot of shadow underneath the overhangs of the armour and here. So if you think of it, the light coming down like this, if he's in a forest there might be shadows across him. If he's out in the open, which I don't know if he would feel confident being in the open if there are dinosaurs about. So the areas that are under shade would be the areas that the rest of his body blocks. So if I focus mostly that the sun's coming from this direction. So what I've done here is this little triangle kind of denotes kind of the angle and the trajectory. So it's coming slightly from the distance forward. So I'm going to assume that this area is going to be more shaded. But there's going to be a little bit of light coming from here. Like if you're using a closed room, the lights would be much more specific. Like in this room right now, there's a light coming from over there and there. And there's also a light coming down onto here. So if you look at my hands, you can see that the back wall this way, there's no light. So you can see there's darker patches here. Also the light's coming from over there, so that you can see there's a dark on these parts. So if you draw that into your drawing, to me it makes it look a bit more 3D first of all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw around the contours because I think the light would catch on these parts. But when you're doing drawing as well, you don't have to always be perfect with the light. If you want to emphasize a certain area like his face, you might not want to shade in all his face, so you could pretend that there's a spotlight, like a cinematic light following him around, I don't know. So Massey's just told me that the club could break the bones off a T-Rex. That's pretty cool. I wouldn't want to... I'd think twice if I was a T-Rex trying to eat one of these guys if I had another option. But I guess if I was hungry or if I was full of T-Rex hormones and rage and hunger, maybe I would try and eat one of these guys. If I was a T-Rex, I'd probably try and attack from this side. So this guy with his strong legs would probably jump around, a bit like a dog, I imagine, to get this in range. So I imagine he could spin around. He could probably, with these strong legs, I'll just turn that comment off. With these strong legs, I imagine this guy could flip, like almost, like a dog when it's waiting for you to throw a ball could spin around. So I imagine that would be a way of him getting this into range of anything that's trying to get him. And the T-Rex's main weapon of choice is his teeth and his face, so he'd be trying to get his nose in there and knock him off onto his back. So he'd probably be trying to get his head here, so when this comes around it would probably knock him in the teeth maybe. I don't know. These are all things to think about when you're doing your drawings, just because, one, it's interesting, but two, like when you understand some of those things, like this pose where he's in a kind of defensive posture, kind of makes sense if he's got a dinosaur trying to eat him in this scene, if you will. If if he was eating, he might be more relaxed. He might have his tail down, you know, because I imagine it's quite a considerable effort for this guy to lift up this heavy tail. So he'd probably have it dragging along the floor when he wasn't defending himself. And then when he was scared, he'd probably crouch down so that he can jump around a bit, get his tail on his target, and the T-Rex probably try and walk around this side to get away from that tail if it was smart. Right, my pencil is looking a bit I'm just looking at the texture now because I've established the drawing and it's, you know, it's almost done, but in fact I'm going to just choose one of these pens which is slightly finer than the brush pen I was using earlier, and I'm just going to draw some not straight lines, some kind of veins really, just to define the flow of his shape of his face. And this is going to be more scale, I think, scale mail. If you can't be bothered drawing all the scales, you can just draw this kind of wave pattern, and then with a lighter pen or a different pen draw the counter wave on the other side, or even just add a bit of shade underneath. It kind of gives like ripples in the kind of now, if you do it on one and not the other, it'll look a bit daft. So let's just have a quick look and see what. Yeah, so I think he has the same here as well. So I'm just gonna try and make a wiggliest line I can. I don't know if you can see this on the camera. Whereas the texture on this is much more smooth, but kind of wrinkly at the same time, kind of like turtle armor, turtle shell. So I'm just going to add some kind of, not cracks, but kind of, because this is more skin, whereas this is kind of more armor, so I do want to add some more texture to it. Because when you're drawing, you just want to emphasize that it's organic, not lines on a piece of paper. So to really get it to come alive, you want to add some of these lines just to break up these white areas as well. And I'm going to jump on HB, and I'm just going to press quite lightly. And also just lightly shading makes the whole body stand out compared with the white background that I'm using. you can choose if you want to make the horns a darker shade or a lighter shade. If you were using colour, which I don't have any colours near me at the moment. Oh, actually, could put some chalks on. I'm going to use 2 greens and a brown, I think. So the live stream's only got 5 minutes left, so I'll just finish this one off, I think. Now, because I've done quite a bit of shading, this doesn't quite play as well, but it just adds just a hint of colour, I think. I'm just giving it a bit of context. So he's on grass, he likes grass, this guy. And I'm just using my, just to add a bit of, you know, bit of this and a bit of that. Gonna add some gentle yellows that should muck in with the pencil shade, just to add kind of if I add a bit of green to this in a minute, I think it will, because he's not yellow, but he's not white as well, so just adding that little hint of colour here and there, a little bit of green, maybe some dark green actually, just there's kind of like that earthly tone. And I just want to break it down so it doesn't look like lines on a thingy. What do you guys think of this? Looking alright? I've also got a kind of ham colour, I don't know, like peach. So I'm going to press a bit harder just on some of the and what it does is it actually mucks in with the pencil and adds kind of some better looking shade, if I'm honest. That's kind of an accident. But it does blend with the pencil a bit, so I'm going to add it to some of those areas. Just adding that kind of slight pink to it, just I think differentiates it between, gives it that kind of bone texture when it's mixed with the yellow. Sometimes you can press really hard, other times just a little bit of texture here and there. for the shadows in between each grass. I'm not going to draw each blade of grass, but just if you hint it being there, then it sometimes just does the trick. I think a bit more yellow, maybe even a bit of white in a minute. Now this is for the reflection of the sun. He's looking quite yellow now, but with the muckiness of it, it doesn't kind of matter, I don't think. Gonna add a bit of white here and there. The white's not really doing anything, maybe a bit of orange. Gonna smudge it in just so it's not obvious. And I'm going to use one of these pens, which is one I used last week for doing the other thing. I know he probably doesn't have a red eye, but don't know if that even stands out enough really. So I'm going to see if that's dry. And I'm going to use this, which is a white pen. It's like a bit like a Tipex pen, they're quite cool. And I'm just going to check it's working first. And I'm going to go around the edge. If it'll work. Sometimes I have to convince these pens to work a little bit. Got another one. You have to convince the pen to you stupid thing. Not really coming out that well. It's coming out a bit. Let's try one of these instead. This has recently been contaminated with blue, but not to worry. And then I can just bring back the red. I don't know if you can see that on the stream. Hang on, let's what do you think? Not bad? Not bad at all. Quite proud of that. Looks rather cool. Let's have a look at the time. Oh, gone over a bit. Right, let's go back to this view. So that's my ankylosaurus. I'm very happy with it. I'll just do a recap on what we've drawn earlier. So started drawing a robot head. Apologies for not finishing that one, but we moved on to an ankosaurus, which is cooler, and then there was that strange bird. But yeah, this one's the better one, I think, of the lot. Yeah, so I'll show you the reference again just so you can. So it's actually proportionally, that's not too bad. You can see it side by side. Now I didn't trace that or anything like that, but I just used the spine shape to build up something that looked a lot like my reference drawing. So I'll just show it up here again because the colour just looks a lot better on this camera than it does on the top down one. So maybe what I'll do is I'll swap the cameras around next week and have my brighter camera up there, and then this one can be that one, because I mean I don't know what you think, but it looks a bit hang on, it looks a bit washed out here, and I mean that looks really grey and dark, and I do have a light. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me on this I'm looking here instead of here. I will wake up. Thank you guys for joining us on this arty live stream lesson. I'm going to try and do it every week. I can't remember if I'm busy next week, but I will, in September, I'll just be back on it mostly. So we'll be doing drawing, we can do sculpting, we can do lots of stuff. Leave a comment in the thingy if there's something particular you'd like to do. I'll also be starting up the proper lessons where people come to the art room, and that would be really cool as well. We'd love to see you. And I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to end the live stream now. So thank you so much for coming, and I will see you guys next time, hopefully.